Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of Daryl Show Your Work. In this episode, we will be doing some red teaming, specifically going through the Metasploit framework. While we won't be extensively diving into its extensive library of scans and exploit, we'll be just doing basic commands. And what we'll be doing, we're going to be doing a FTP exploit here of that particular TCP protocol. Again, the disclaimer that I always give in the beginning of this is for ethical and research purposes only. This is to kind of go into that and what Metasploit is. Metasploit in itself is a powerful and versatile tool used by ethical hackers and penetration testers to identify, exploit, and mitigate vulnerabilities in systems. So this is the intent of this framework, is to be used ethically. So I want to continue to stress that before we get into things. All right. So with that said, I'm going to jump into our demonstration of Metasploit and how it works. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a service scan on a target machine, and this is going to give us not only tell us what port is open, but also tell us the version of that protocol. And the reason that's important because some exploits out there are targeted towards particular versions, whether newer or legacy versions of protocols. So that is something that's important when it comes to looking for to the step where we're looking for exploits to run against said open port. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, as far as the MITRE attack framework, we're currently going to do some active recon with nmap. So I'm going to put in my nmap command. And like I said, we're going to run a service scan. So to do that, we put dash lowercase s, uppercase V, and then our target address is 192.168.1.101. All right, so hitting enter, and it starts my nmap scan. All right, so remember I said that we are going to be targeting specifically port 21, which is the FTP port protocol, TCP protocol FTP, and which is a clear text protocol. So we see that port port 22 and port 25 and 3306 and 3389. All of these are open, but for this particular lab, we're just going to target FTP, which is a clear text protocol. But there's probably exploits here. There are exploits here for every one of these particular TCP protocols. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to just verify what it is that what we found here as far as FTP being open, and I'm going to FTP into this address just to verify that our results are that we didn't get a false positive and that our results here are accurate from nmap. So do 192.168.1.101. All right, let's see if I can connect. Do a FTP connection. All right, so it's asking me for a name. So my username is anonymous. All right, and then for this lab, I just left the password blank, so I'm gonna hit enter. All right, so we're in, and then just to just to see what's inside here, just do a command. I'm gonna do a list all, which shows us every file located in this in this FTP directory, even the hidden file. So I'm gonna hit enter. and there doesn't appear to be much here. So what we're going to do, we're going to exit out of here. We're going to jump into Metasploit. So I'm going to say that to cancel my connection, I'm going to go to buy, hit enter. All right. So to start, usually to start the Metasploit framework, we have to start up the PostgreSQL SQL server because Metasploit needs that to run. But for this particular lab, we're going to bypass that step, and we're just going to I'm just going to enter in the command to start up Metasploit. But I want to show you what that typically looked like, what command we would usually have to run in order to start up Metasploit. I would start up the Postgre database first. So we would usually have to write PostgreSQL start. All right, and so we would hit that, and the database would start, and then we would put in a command to start up a Metasploit. So you could run that. You could either run this as its own command to start up the SQL database, or and then run MSF console to then run the Metasploit framework after that, or you could do it all in one step. So I'm going to show you how to do it all in one step. We will put ampersand MSF console, and then it would do both at once. So it would start up the PostgreSQL database, and then it would then launch the Metasploit framework. But since we're bypassing having to start up the database in this lab, we're just going to run the MSF console, and that's going to boot Metasploit up for us. All right. And usually when we get into this step, we would have to set well, you wouldn't have to set certain parameters, but it's best practices too, like setting up a workstation. So a workspace, I'm sorry. So in this lab, I can't really do that, but in order to set up a workspace, which isolates, the different, if you're running multiple, let's say pen testing, or you're running multiple exploits at once, being able to pivot between different workspaces, like, let me show you, workspace, and put -A to create one. Let's say we're doing the FTP workspace. Well, I would create a workspace for FTP, but let's say I wanted to also, while I'm running that, run an exploit against the SSH port. Well, I would create a different workspace for that, and I could pivot between the two as I'm working on multiple scans or multiple exploits against those particular protocols. But again, we're going to bypass that, and we're going to jump right into looking for some exploits against our vulnerable FTP port. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to search, and let me scroll back up so you can see what I'm about to do, what I'm basing it off of. Scroll back up here. Sorry, my machine's running a little slow here. So if you look here, oops. All right, so remember the reason why it was important for us to run the version scan, because we're going to specifically search for a exploit that targets this specific version of FTP, and see if there is indeed if this is indeed vulnerable to the exploit that we find. So scrolling back, remember that name vsftpd 234. That is the version of FTP that we're targeting and that we're going to look for an exploit for. Okay, so now back. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, now back to our search. So I'm going to type in search. And remember, the version is vsftpd 2.3.4. All right, so we're going to look for any sort of auxiliary scan or any sort of exploit that we can find that targets that has that specific version in its exploit line and it tells you that in the naming convention, and you will see that when we search for it. Okay, so one actually came up, and this is what I mean by it. The version would show up in the naming convention. So this is the actual name of the exploit. So exploit Unix. It tells you what operating system, and then FTP, which is the protocol we're targeting, and FTPD. It's that's the version 234, and then it's a backdoor. So what this is going to do is it's going to clearly this is a vulnerable version, and it's going to exploit a backdoor, which is going to allow us to then be able to get into the target system remotely. All right, and then here's the description for you. All right, so there's two ways that we can weaponize this. We could either write in the whole name, or we could save ourselves some time and we could just write in the exploit number. So I'm going to save us some time, and I'm going to do use and then 0. But in the show notes, I'll include the full name, because every person's version of Metasploit may not be the same, and this particular exploit may come up as a different number. So to minimize any type of confusion, I will make sure that I write out this whole exploit name for you in the show notes. All right, so I'm gonna tell it to use 0. All right, when I do, as we can see, now it's loaded the payload here. So it's telling us that that Metasploit has loaded this payload for us. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to go to show options to see if there's anything we need to configure here prior to running this exploit. So I'm gonna hit oops, forgot the S. All right, hit up. All right, add the S there. Okay, so here are our configurations. Let me scroll up a little. So the main thing that we need to look at, sorry, hold on. All right, so the main thing we need to look at is our R host, which is the remote host, and our R port, which is the remote port. So given the nature of the exploit, it's already pre-configured to target port 21, since that is the FTP port. But we need to tell it that, hey, where we want to target, what address we want to target that has that open port. So we're going to do that by writing set our host 192.168.1.101. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter. All right, and then I'm going to do show options again, just to make sure that our configurations have updated. All right, let's scroll back up a little. All right, so we see that our host now has the target IP address. All right. So when I go to exploit this, what's going to happen if it's successful? It's going to our Metasploit session is going to then turn into a meterpreter session, and when that happens, that means that we've established a connection with the target machine. Now, it doesn't mean that we're completely in the machine. In order to do that, we have to run a shell command to actually run commands on the actual system, but we can still do some when we're connected to do that meterpreter session. We can still run some meterpreter commands to enumerate and to gain more information on the system, and even do things such as upload and download files. So I'm going to write exploit here to begin that meterpreter session. Let's see if we can actually form a connection with this machine. Let me hit enter. All right, so let's see, it's loading it up. It's found shell. So it looks like by finding a shell in a command shell in this lab, it's actually already it's establishing a shell process for us. So it's going to skip the whole meterpreter step, where we would be able just to further enumerate the system, download, upload files. And it's going to take us actually straight into the system, and that because it actually found a shell and it's executing a command shell. So it looked like that's what it's trying to do. Let's just give it a little bit of time here. But yeah, it looks like actually we're going to jump straight into the actual machine and be able to run commands in that machine. And if you look here, it looked like it's putting us into root. So this appears to be a Linux machine that we're remote connecting into, and it's putting us into the actual root user, which is a very dangerous thing to do, as I explained in earlier videos. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but it shouldn't take much more time. So let's give it a little more. And you can always fast forward through this, if it takes a little bit long. Let me try something to see, because we actually may be connected. Okay, because I'm looking at this session 1 open. It looked like we're actually connected, because there's supposed to be some commands that we get to let us know if we're in, but I think we're actually in. So I'm going to write who am I just to verify. No, we are in. Okay, so I wrote who am I, and then it tells us we're root, so we're actually in. So to further verify, I'm going to write another Linux command. I'm gonna write dir just to verify that we are indeed. Let me see. So yeah, no, it looks like no, it looks like we're so here's the file, the basic file system, the desktop documents, downloads, music, pictures, public templates, video. So I mean, yeah, we're in the system. But the fact that I typed dir, it appears that it may be actually a Microsoft system or Windows system that we're in. All right, so what I'm going to do, let's say that I didn't want to disconnect from this session, but let's say I wanted to background it. So I'm going to go to Control and then Z. All right, ask me if I want to background the session. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to hit Y and then enter. All right, so it background that session for me, and it brought me back to Metasploit. So then let's say I just wanted to jump back into that session. So in order to do that, I will write well, first let's write sessions just to see the active session just to make sure. So there's our the session that we just established. That's it says shell, then command Unix. So it's telling us that we connected from our device, which is located at .100, and we connected to .101. All right. So then let's jump. If we want to jump back into that session, I would type sessions -I, and then I'm going to specify which session in case we have multiple sessions going. But right now we just have one, and I will put in the ID of the session. Session 1. Hit enter. All right. So since it doesn't give us, doesn't tell us much else, I'm going to see if I'm actually back in the session yet. Right. Who am I? And yeah, I'm back in the session, so I'm root again. All right, so that's pretty much a rough overview of Metasploit. Metasploit, there's a whole lot more to say about it. There's a whole much more to explain to explore about it, which I'm going to do in future videos. I'm going to dive a bit deeper in and actually start showing different exploits, different ways that we could use different auxiliary scanners to scan different protocol that look for vulnerabilities for different protocols, and then also more exploits that we can execute against those protocols to remotely connect into to systems. But for today, that's it. I thank you for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe, and most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care, and God bless.